Hello? Oh, okay. Hello, this is Meral, and I'm very happy to have this webinar with you. Let me open my slide. Yes, here is our team, and you have met several of them. You have had the first webinar mainly with Anna and Diana, and we had the occasion to speak also, Ahmad and I. And this is our small team. And I will be leading the business development group. But before, I wanted to put a personality behind the picture. Who am I? And my small story is that, the next slide, please. Yes. So I was raised and born in Turkey, born and raised in Turkey till I finished university. Then I moved to France to have my master's degree. Somehow I like to study, and still I love to study, and maybe I like the idea of to be an eternal student, so I had 3 master's degrees there. The first one was the European Community, because at that time we were believing that Turkey would be one day be part of the European Community, and they needed bureaucrats to lead this. And then the second one was International Finance, and the third one was the international franchise and the establishment of small, medium enterprises. After this, I moved to Ecuador. I got married and I moved to Ecuador. I got my 2 first children there. You can see the boys at the right hand, and now they're 18 and 16. And after this, I moved to US, where I work at the World Bank. And my position at the World Bank, I would call myself private sector specialist, and I worked mainly for SME banking, financial inclusion, financial literacy, and with a big focus, and the largest part of it, on women empowerment. So I had on one side, I work both on the supply and demand sides. On one part, I work with the women associations and women entrepreneurs to give them courses on how to develop their micro enterprises. Then later years on, it was maybe 2017, 2008, then they grew up, they began women SMEs. Then we worked together on how to grow their businesses into women SME. We worked together how to develop business plans, and I worked mainly in Latin America and Africa for this. Then I worked on the other side also, on the supply side with financial institutions. I work with the micro finance institutions as well as commercial banks, and I develop capacity building programs on how to introduce and develop SME banking and women banking departments. And that was in Africa and South Asia. After this, I moved to Turkey, and those are mainly those pictures from Africa and South Asia. And however, when I was working with women entrepreneurs, I was so touched by their courage, and I was ashamed of myself because they come from nothing. I met a lady from Mali, and she couldn't read and write, and she became a famous salt trader between Mali and Mauritius. And then women in Senegal and beaten and domestic violence victims become very famous store managers. Then I wanted to put an enterprise myself, and you can see the pictures down there. And with a friend of mine from the World Bank, we put an enterprise. It lasted 2 years with no profit. Then I realized I came back to the development. And here we are, at the next slide please. And here I am to present you what we will do today and what is this group about. The agenda is that, first of all, I want to explain to you why we are working with the companies, who we want to reach, and why the institutions. So we will talk about the WEBs companies, Women Empowerment Principles companies, and other institutions. And then we will talk about how you can active on that, and how you can collaborate with us, and how we will be scored. And before we start, actually, if you have participated to other webinars, and it will be the same, and at the right side, you can have a small space where you can enter all your questions, and I will try not to talk a lot and give as much time as possible to you so I can answer back to your questions. Please enter them. So before explaining what is this group amount, and I think I assume you all understood your overall engagement to the platform. So our core business as Empower Women, as the platform staff, is to reach as many women and young girls possible in all parts of the world. And as of today, we have more than 17,000 members, even more beyond that, in exactly 193 countries. But we need to multiply this number by thousands and thousands and thousands and by millions and reach as many women and young girls as possible. But here it is, this is an online platform with limitations and with limited resources, and we have big dreams. And so when we say resources, just I want to clarify, we understand not only funds, but staff numbers, so staff time, and time as well. So in that sense, our champions are our extended staff. And even, I'm sure you have seen this, our previous champions, the alumni, and we put them under our staff, and they help them to reach to local communities, to rural and remote areas and regions, and that will take us a lot of time to reach. So we want to work with the institutions to be able to reach as many women and young girls as possible. So we can do this in two ways. So when we work with institutions in general, first, we want to improve the workplace of those institutions for their women employees. So that way we help them to become better institutions, but it's not that the women employees who are winner here. And because there are enough studies that prove that when companies have inclusive teams and you know the 30% law, actually they have much more profit than others. So this is the first part, so improving the workplace for women employees. But the second part, we want to empower and support those institutions so they can develop special programs to empower women outside. So they may have a business case in some cases, for example, if it is an MFI or commercial bank, or it can be a very strong CSR activity. So that is why we need to work with institutions. Before working with the institutions, I also want to clarify who we want to reach out there. We need to understand, when we say women and young girl, it's a big description. It is very general, and I want to go down and who are they? Because each group, they have their own characteristics and they have their own challenges, and we need to find them ways to overcome those barriers. And we have to provide them specific, different solutions. So first of all, the young girls. The young girls are the apple of our eyes, and because they are at the divergence in their lives. They are in such a difficult period in their lives. They are out of their childhood, or some cases in the middle, in teenager girls, and they have to they are obliged in some cases to make big decisions. They may marry, they may go to school, or they may put a business, or they may stay at home to take care of their families, elders, and their brothers and sisters, so that the parents can go to school. So in each case, we want to empower those girls in one sense, so that they can have informed decisions in their lives, and whatever they choose. This is the first part. But on the second part, for those girls who have the chance to continue their education, and you want to work with them so that they can also choose and be oriented to STEM professions. The second one are women farmers. And you know, the Women Empowerment Agenda, Women Economic Empowerment Agenda, talk a lot about women entrepreneurs, talk about women workers, white collar, blue collars, and maybe less about women farmers. However, I do believe women farmers, we will hear a lot about them in the future, in the sense that now International Development Agenda talk a lot about sustainability. And we talk about, and sustainability means we have to use our resources in a way that we need to live, we just need to use our resources of what we need, for what we need. And we need to leave a better world for our children, for the ones who come. So we need to only use and consume what we need. And women farmers, in that case, we will hear them a lot, because we need to use the local products. And when we say the local products, we talk about local farmers. And when we say local farmers, those are mostly the women farmers. And women farmers are also the knowledge of the traditions, even though they may not read or write, but they have this tradition of the knowledge that comes from their earth, that comes from their mother, that they continue. And actually there is something that they say for Turkey, for the women farmers in Turkey, and I'm sure it exists from other parts of the world also. When the young farmers' daughters, they get married, in their dot, the mothers put the traditional seeds so they can carry the ancestral seeds to the earth of the new family. So she's carrying all those seeds, the local seeds. The third one are the women entrepreneurs. So this is the big agenda, women entrepreneurs. And they are very, very important, even though they may not, in some cases, they may not constitute the biggest part of the working woman in every country. In Latin America, in South Asia, or in Africa, yes, they do constitute the biggest part of the working woman. And because they are the job market is not enough, big enough to accept women, or women, they don't have chance to go to school and finish the school and to be able to go to the access to the offices. They have to put their own enterprises. And the women entrepreneurs, they come basically with 4 big challenges. The first one is they can't have access to finance, and because they don't have collateral, because they don't have enough savings, and it is the same story, bad story all over the world. And the second one, access to information and education. And women all over the world, they have less education than men. And even though the education gap at the primary education level is really closing, it is widening more and more with the years that pass. And so women, generally, they have less education than men. But it is not only the formal education we are talking about. We are also talking about the vocational training. And this vocational training is not only in remote areas or in rural areas, but even in the cities, and even between the women, maybe women like us, I would say, for the simple reason that men would always find time, and I'm not talking about money, even funds, to go to a vocational training in the evening time or in the weekend. However, the working women, they would finish their jobs in their offices, in their own works, and they would run home for their families. And they may not prefer to take vocational training or any extra courses in the weekends or in the evening time, which make them have less and less education during the time. And when they don't have access to education, they don't have access to networks. So there's the third big one. And networking is maybe the biggest quality an entrepreneur should have, because they don't have enough funds, they don't have enough people who would work with them. So networking is what counts more. However, women all around the world, they don't have access to networking. And when we talk in the cities, I will explain this later. However, in rural areas or in some countries where the cultural barriers are so important that men and women shouldn't or cannot see each other easily, it makes even more problem. But then there's also another thing that comes from the character of a man, and I think from the audience, the women who listen to me, and they would agree with me. And when in any places, formal or informal, when 2 men meet each other and they talk about their work, they network. The next day, it's very easy for a man to call the other one to say, hey, we met each other, do you remember? And then develop the conversation, whatever they want to see. However, for a woman to call another woman, I'm not saying another man, to call another woman, she should feel the trust. If she doesn't feel the trust, she wouldn't do that, which makes them much more difficult to network, even though they have access to networking. It is just because this is how the women are. And that's why actually the online platforms are very important. Like, for example, Facebook. Why Facebook is so important or developing much more in bigger sizes between women than men, because women can find the easiness to connect with other people without feeling the trust. So that's all about women entrepreneurs. And if we cannot pass those barriers with them, and it will not be easy for it will not be possible to put an ecosystem for women entrepreneurs, and it will be very difficult for them because generally countries or institutions, they say we are providing access to finance for women entrepreneurs, and now it will be a boom of women entrepreneurship. It is not true, and access to finance is one element. Then we have to help them to have education, we have to help them to access to information, we have to help them to access to markets. That's what I forgot, the internal, domestic and international markets, which is completely related to networking and access to education and information. Then we come to the women in the workplace. This is the biggest, I would say, the hot topic lately in the Women Economic Empowerment agenda. And there are more and more studies now at the benefits of institutions employ women in the workplaces. And maybe you have heard about the 30% rule, which says that when companies, they have at the top level or at their board 30% or more women, there is an increase, an obvious increase in their profit. And to be able to employ women, I mean, women are employed all everywhere, but we cannot retain them in the same job. And so that is the big challenge for the institutions. And the last one that we just added are women refugees and displaced women, because women refugees can be originally a young girl, can be a farmer, can be an entrepreneur, can be a very famous and very important businesswoman in her own country, but then they found themselves in a foreign country with no papers, and with all the difficulties, maybe sometimes in the language, most of the times, and with no networking at all. And so they have their very own challenges, and it is the hottest topic in the international agenda at the moment, the women refugees and displaced women. And here I want to explain to you what institutions we are talking about here. What institutions I'm expecting you to discover, to identify, and to research. So first of all, we should talk about institutions that approach women empowerment and gender equality with a business case. Most of the cases, for example, financial institutions, they have a very strong business case, because if they develop products and services, financial products and financial services for women customers, now they know that they will be a nicest portion of the profit. And this is certainly true for savings and insurance products. MFIs, microfinance institutions, you may know that in Africa, South Asia, in Latin America, biggest part of their clients are women micro-entrepreneurs. Or, this is the first big part, or secondly, it could be those big corporations or those even small ones with important CSR activities. Actually, you know, I always say, like, those gender empowerment, women empowerment issues are like, is any culture, it should be a culture that began in an institutions. Most of the cases, it began like on a level of a CSR activity, but then they see the benefit of it. It's like a poison that enters into the blood and you cannot take it out, and you want to develop it. And then you read reports on that and you understand how it is important to develop products and services for women customers. And then they realize how it is important to offer a better workplace for their women employees, and they see the profits increasing, and then it becomes a real business case. And when something has a business case, then it is a sustainable case. The second one are associations and cooperatives. Of course, the first thing we think about are women entrepreneurship associations, and generally countries, they have one big women entrepreneurship associations. Then in developed country, I would say it's professional women associations for the white colors. Then in the rural areas, it can be rural women cooperatives, or in some cases, for example, in universities, it can be sisterhood organizations that you can approach. The third one are universities, training institutions, BDS providers, business service providers, business development service providers. And the last one that I added, those are all those institutions and self-help groups. I say self-help groups working for refugees and women refugees and displaced women. In that case, it's because, on my knowledge, there are also a lot of just groupings that help women refugees, but they don't have a legal status. They are not community center. They are not NGO yet, and there is no legal status. But they come together. They group together, and it becomes. At first, it's mainly in Turkey, in Greece, in Jordan, in those countries that host countries. All those people come together. They make groups, and they just develop programs by fundraising money and putting programs. At the beginning, it's like a humanitarian work, but then after the humanitarian part is passed, and sometimes it's not, they understand the value that they have to create income for the refugees, because the humanitarian aid is after a certain point. And at this point, they need to develop, and they have to become an NGO, and they have to have a legal status. It's just all evaluation. Then I put here also several financial institutions who is or are becoming important. They will be working with the refugee entrepreneurs, and in some cases, refugee incubators for refugees that I'm hearing in Arab states and in Turkey as well. So those are the institutions mainly we would be looking for. And when we talk about empowering institutions, whatever person dedicated to gender equality and who will work with business development, and you will hear a lot about women empowerment principles, or WEPs, we are calling them in WEPs in short. Maybe you have heard this already. So WEPs is launched in 2010 and by UN Global Compact and UN Women. It's a joint program. It's a platform with the idea to mobilize business action and, of course, for the sustainable development goals. And it gives you 7 paths, 7 principles. And through these 7 principles, it gives a framework to all businesses, to guide all the businesses. And it is regardless the size, regardless the sector or geography. It guides the mainly private sector. It guides the businesses how to empower women in the workplace, in the marketplace, and in the community. And in that case, there are also some eligibility criteria. Not all the institutions, not all the private sector can adopt or sign for WEPs. And first of all, it must be a for-profit company, so NGOs, they are not accepted. In second case, companies should have at least 10 employees. And I will be, it's a very long, it's a long discussion here. I'm happy to answer all your questions that you may have later about the WEPs. And Empower Women have 2 types of members. One is the individual members, like all of us, we are individual members. But we also have organizational members. Organizational members, those are institutions who have already women empowerment initiatives. And you can find them under community, and you will see the companies. And each company will have a web page where they will have, they have a web page, and where they explain all their good practices on gender equality and women empowerment. And at the right upside, you see register your company, and this is where the companies register themselves. It's very self-explanatory, very easy to register, as easy as you have registered yourself and signed up for Empower Women. And after that, we have to clear them, and they become an organizational member for us. And it's a great opportunity for them to showcase their good work. And here we have put 2 examples of how it looks like, for the companies to have a web page. They have their pictures, they have their basic information like the website, how many workers, how many women employees, and there's a small paragraphs on what are they as a company, and then a large explanation on what they do as good practices for women empowerment. So one of our core business is to increase the membership, individual membership, but also organizational membership. So when we say we will be mapping the institutions, what does it mean? So first of all, we have to research the countries, but we have to do it really nicely and systematically. Here, it doesn't important how many institutions you have researched, or it doesn't matter how many countries. The important is that the quality of the information, not the quantity of the items. I would prefer when you begin a country, so please do as much as possible from one country. It is not important you do one country or two countries or 10 countries, but it is important that you have researched one country entirely. So this is the first one thing. So I wouldn't like to, I wouldn't prefer to have two associations from country A, then two rural associations from country B, and some students organizations groupings from country C. So this is not the way we are looking for. The important thing is that you begin one country and then we begin together. The associations, the financial institutions, rural cooperatives, and academia, and the training institutes. So it's nicely done. Secondly, it would be very nice if you can find and first identify the institutions, but secondly, give as detailed information as possible. And this is where the scoring will be coming. And so filling out the Google form, which I'm coming to the next slide. So you can find the form there, but I will be posting it also on our e-form. So when you click on this link, you will be reaching a series of questions. And of course, first of all, it will be your name, what it looks like. And then about the institutions that you have researched. The first one is the region of the institutions. Those are UN regions, America and Caribbean, Arab states, Asia and the Pacific, Eastern and Southern Africa, Europe and Central Asia, West and Central Africa. It's very, very clear. The country of the institution, the correct name of the institution, the full name of this institution is very important to have. The website, I know the websites are not evident in most of the cases. If there is nothing, please put not available, because you have to put something. If not, you will not be able to submit your form. If the website is not there, you can put not available. And for the industry and sector type, there is a big menu, and this is the same menu that we have on our organization page, so you can click on those. And I would like to have the Twitter handle, the social media information of the institutions, because you would like to follow them also, the Twitter and the Facebook handles. Then it will be nice to have if we want to reach this institution, how we will reach. So generally, if this is a big corporation, it will be a person who manages CSR activity. If not, it should be a communication person, if not somebody else. So name of the communication person and email of that person, so we can contact them. The next one would be the number of employees. That gives us an idea how big is the company or the institution. And the number of women employees is always very important for us, of course. And the next one, and please, you can choose all that apply. If it is a profit or non-profit, if it is a public institution or private institution, or if it is a civil society organization. It is also very important for us to know if this institution has specific gender program. Now, when we say specific gender program, it can be a capacity building program for their own employees, or it's possible that they do capacity building for outside for their customers, or they do this as a CSR activity. It's also possible. And the last two questions actually for us are very, very important. what makes this organization stands out for you? Why did you choose it? Oh, this is my alarm. And how do you know this organization? And this will be very important to know. I'm so sorry, this is my alarm and I need to put it off. Just a second, please. Ay, o kapatıyor. Okay, I'm very sorry for this. And actually, one of the best part of that is we want to know why did you choose this information? Why did you choose this institution? What makes an important organization for it? And how you know this organization? And it's also, please put there if you know this organization personally, or if you know anybody within this organization personally, it would be a great, great information for us. So how you can begin? And I just put this basic information just to let you know how you can do it. Of course, there is no way. Each person is free to find a way. So I would do, first of all, if you are currently employed by an organization, and I also saw that you have your own organization, because I saw in some of the links there are very nice organizations between you, and does this organization have a gender equality policy, or they have specific women's empowerment program? So we can begin with this. You can begin filling that way. Secondly, do you have personal connections with some other institutions? And it can be your own family, it can be friends, it can be friends of the friends. And the third one, we have to research. So Google is our best friend here, of course. But also, in each country, developing as developed countries, they have very strong women associations. And the women associations, they have great resources. And I would really ask you to find them and ask their collaboration. And I'm sure that you will be able to reach greatly to much more information on this. I think it's very straightforward what we are asking, and there is nothing more than completing the forms that I have explained here. And your open questions, as I said, I'm repeating, open answers are very important. So why you have chosen this company, if you have a personal connection with this company, or how we can approach those companies. However, I need to say, please never approach a company for a registration. Never ask them to make an organizational member. We will do that. We will do it when the champions will be identified. So we will work together with those identified institutions, but not at the moment. The second one, as I said, quality of one form, of one institution that you will enter is much more important than the quantity. It's very important to have entered few forms, but nicely, than many half done, secondly. Third, it's important to map entirely a country, a region, rather than to give few companies from many countries. Meanwhile, you can always write blogs or opinion pieces throughout your research findings, because you will be making a research and you will learn a lot from a country. You can write the stories of the inspiring entrepreneurs and you can upload at the story part. Or I'm sure you will meet female entrepreneurs, SME or micro entrepreneurs that you will meet. Or I'm sure you will see outstanding products and services of the companies for women. You can all write about those. And so I will post to our e-discussion link, and the link is still here, all the updates. You can ask questions there. I have a problem, maybe you have recognized that, I have a problem with my email for the last 5 days. I can't reach my Outlook. But please put any questions on the e-discussion and I will answer back. And I'm happy to answer to your questions from this point on.
Thank you, Meral. Hi, everyone. My name is Diana. I'll be jumping in and join Meral for the Q&A session. I would, while Meral was carefully explaining and did for us a very nice presentation with a lot of details, I also took care of a lot of questions when possible responding and prioritize it. We did receive several of them. For the majority, Meral already shared some answers, but let's take it one by one and maybe clarify in case it wasn't clear. So Joel or Data asking, what if we do not have institutions like the universities you are asking us to look for in our village? Can a local woman group in the village work?
Can I answer?
Yeah, please, Meral.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I thought that you will be continuing with the questions. No, of course, of course. I mean, what we are asking is to map them. If they exist, they exist. If they don't exist, they don't exist. We cannot create something that doesn't exist. However, it would be nice to put it there, to say that, hey, in this village or city or country, there isn't any institution. It's good for us to know that. Actually, it gives us another lead what we can do there as a development work.
Thank you, Meral. The next question is from Ekaterina Burtseva, and I think we tackled this, but maybe just to clarify one more time to maybe diminish all other questions. Should we look at the country or we can concentrate on a single city in our research?
You know, I myself go country by country when I do this because we have done this, that type of research a lot. It depends on where you are, actually. And I will tell you something. When there is something that says woman in it, it means it's a developing country. When we say woman training, when we say woman product, when we say woman banking, they don't exist, that type of things in developed countries. Actually, it's an insult. I was in Spain and there for the launch of he4she in some institutions, and I wanted to go to work with the universities. So I went to the dean and I said, I want to open Empower Women clubs in the university. And they just looked at me with a face. They say, it's an insult for everybody because there is no need there to empower the young girls, but we have to do it. So I guess more a country is, I don't want to say underdeveloped, but developing or on the way of development, you will find more and more institutions under the name women associations, women programs, women capacity building programs, women products. But again, if you want to, if the work is too much for you, please do in a village. If you think it's not enough, go beyond to your city. Go beyond your country. I'm happy to receive all type of information. It's really depending on you. It depends on you.
Thank you, Meral. Maybe I can take 3 bundles of questions, very similar, and respond to, cumulatively because they are kind of on the same line. Reshmi is asking, just to clarify, is this only for profitable organizations, so businesses?
No.
Another question from Jacqueline. I would like to know what type of information is needed exactly. For the institution with a business case, do we need also to provide a full description of a company and so on? I think the form clarifies it very clear, Jacqueline, but Meral will double check again for you guys to understand it clear. And the last from this bundle is, do you consider the US as one country where we do need to kind of branch it out, Boston, Miami, maybe so on?
Yeah, okay. So yes, I think the form is for all types of institutions. What I tried to explain you there, when we say we will approach the institutions, those are the types of institutions that we will approach. It can be for profit. I mean, imagine the idea is to reach women and young girls. That's the whole thing. And we will use the institutions. We will pass through the institutions to reach to the women and young girls. These women and young girls could be as employees or it could be their customers. So it really can be any type of institution that I have stated all of them. And the form is valid for all types of institutions. Did I forget something?
No, 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 no,
Yeah, the
no.
US, yeah.
The US, and also maybe you can tackle here about if they can choose two countries or a continent, just mostly on the geography part, so we cannot repeat this question going further.
Yeah, and I think I have explained this. It really depends on your time. It really depends how much time you want to do, and it really depends also on the region or on the country you want to cover. If you are doing, for example, Turkey, there are a lot of institutions there, a lot of all types of institutions. There are a lot of for-profit, and I would say the same for US. In US, there are a lot of for-profit institutions, big corporations, public institutions, and I lived in US for 15 years, so it's a great country, I think, for women entrepreneurs in all type, and financial institutions as well. So please, it depends on your time. I would like to have as much information as possible. It all depends on you. If you want to cover one state, two states, it's okay. If you want to cover the whole US, it's a lot, but it's on you.
But as you said, Meral, quality is more important than quantity.
Quality,
We are
yes, yes.
looking for submissions with full information, not just, the name and maybe email and so on. It's important for you to submit the information completely in a really nice format, maybe with even more details that required, so we can have a big picture and we can use this information accordingly. Joel is asking the several questions. If I have a story about some woman in my village where I live, say I want to have her video short and she doesn't speak English, is it allowed for this woman to speak in this own language and then translate it? I can respond to this question, Joel.
Sure.
This group is mainly about the activity and the requirements Meral spoke during her presentation. Indeed, you can share the story, but it's not the main requirement of this group work, right? It's something additional. And we are welcoming this with all our hearts. We love stories. If you are interested to work with stories in any language of formal UN language, let's say it's not English but it's French, Spanish, Arabic, where we do have also regional coordinators, Russian and Romanian is good as well, please feel free to contact us and we can guide you further. But just to let you know that your contribution for this group specifically should be work on the format with organization and everything Meral explained a little bit earlier. Can I put information about the organization in Spanish? Elizabeth is asking. Could you please explain a little bit more? Where are the unions? You know, Meral, when we did the categorization of entrepreneurship, work groups, and then rural women and so on, maybe you can specify where are the unions? And then another question from this bundle, do we need to register our company as a part of this rally?
Yeah, if this is your company, it would be great. And if the company has already some women empowerment, gender and gender equality programs, it would be great, of course, if you can register your company, of course. And I forgot the other question, Diana.
If they can provide the information in Spanish.
You know, the thing is that we will have several people. I do speak Spanish. However, we will be several of us working on those sheets. Imagine we will receive maybe 500, maybe more, maybe thousands, and with my intern who doesn't speak Spanish. So, and I don't think, I mean, there are very few paragraphs that you have to write really, writing. The other one, it will be choosing some answers. If it is not a big hassle, we would prefer them to be all in English.
Thank you, Meral. Another question comes from Luz Maria Utrera. She says, so after that we reach I assume, complete the form, what we will do with this information, I just want to specify that, remember, this is the rally, right? And this is a part of assignment, but then those who will be selected as champions will continue to work with Meral within this group, and this will be developed. Of course, Meral can share with you what maybe a glimpse from the next, from what she envisioned next, but it's just a small piece from something bigger, which is like the 4 months of rally. So Meral, maybe you can continue the idea of what's next, or just to tell, but also some questions. How will the scoring to succeed as a champion be? What are the points? So basically, just if you can explain a little bit on the scoring, and how this information will be used further from the completion of a form.
Yeah, okay. The first question, how we will use this information? We will use this information with the selected champions, because at the next stage of Empower Women, we want to give a big focus on the collaboration with all kind of institutions that I have stated there, all detailed one, public, private, profit, non-profit, and all of them. Again, the idea is to reach as much women as possible. I think I have explained that. And so I can explain this, but it will not be for you. It will not for you all. It will be for the one chosen. So we will sit down together. So as you know, we divide the groups, and each of us become mentor for all the champions. So the group that will work for me, either they come with their own projects, and I can tell you about some projects of the previous alumni. For example, I worked many of them. I love them all. For example, in one of our champions in Spain, she develops gender equality curriculum for elementary and middle school. So we have worked on that. The other one in Nepal, she developed capacity building and vocational training for women prisoners in Nepal. And a champion from India, she organized a conference where she invited corporations, actually, and important private sector people, and where I was supposed to go, but I couldn't go at the end, and she make them sign to be an organizational member. So there are like small projects that they come and they present us, and we work with them. In my case, I would use all this information to invite those companies, but please don't do anything at this stage. It's not your role here. The next stage, we will invite them. If they qualify for webs, we will ask them to be a web signatory. If they qualify to be Empower Women organizational member, we will ask them to be a member. And after this, depending on the relationship we develop, we would love to develop programs with them, but this is really next stage. I mean, I just answered this because you asked, but it is nothing like that is asked from you. We just ask research at this moment. Did I forget something, Diana?
No, I think you answered all of them. Several other questions. Do we need to fill in separate forms for each institutions?
Yes.
I will just say that this is one form, but you submit different submissions. So you complete the one form once, right? The form once for one submission, second time for second submissions.
So yeah, I didn't answer the previous question, how it will be scored. One form is for one institution. And again, is the quality that counts, is not the number of forms. You can do few, I don't know, 10 institutions. Is it a lot, 10 institutions? And however, every detail should be given, and with a nice detail why you have chosen these institutions. Maybe you know these institutions in detail. What are the best practices of this institution? So for me, that is what counts more than submitting 20, 30, 50 half completed forms.
Mhm. Maybe you also can specify, Meral, do we need to focus, like this is a question from Jacqueline again, do we need to focus in one of the different categories described, when you specified, or a specific country within one focus group? How do
No.
you see this?
Yeah, yeah. I prefer, if possible, to go geographically. I mean, to cover and map entirely. It can be your village, it can be your city, it can be your country. I wouldn't go to region. It can be your state, and just map everything there. So in our mind, we would be able to say then, we have mapped that part, this part. However, if you focus on only one institution, we have to go back geographically to this place again and make another research. Can I be clear on that?
I think so, but if not, we will definitely try to answer one more time. Another question is like, do we have permission to use your Numan name in order to get some information? I would say that at this stage, as we are on the rally, and some other clarification or questions are still needed to respond, and maybe you are not fully engaged, I would be cautious when using this normally, and this is our practice. When we do select the champions, we give like a confirmation letter that yes, you are champion for change, and we confirm your activities with us. At this stage, our preference will be not to use, because you are just a prospective champion, but of course this means a lot, and if it's really needed, we do can offer yeah, the confirmation. But you, as Meral mentioned prior, at this stage you are not proposing any collaboration with them, any sign-on. It's just the research for the further activities that will follow up in the championship stage. This is correct, Meral, right?
Yes, yes, and even our champions, when they had their own projects, they had the right to have a logo in support of Empower Women by UN Women, and they also had their titles, champions, and on global champion on women empowerment. And however, at this stage, no, and also it is not needed. I don't think. I mean, you can say you are making a research because you participated to a rally to be a champion for UN Women, but I don't think we are really looking at very secret information that need to be, I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
it can be research, it can be Googled.
Yeah, so every step of a championship has its requirements. I think we appreciate a lot your excitement and going kind of ahead of a little bit of assignment, but let's take it easy and with a big responsibility from both sides. We do love to work with our prospective champions and champions. Unfortunately, we cannot select all of you guys, but we will make sure that this phase will be transparent and the selection will be according to the merit. Another bunch of questions. Do we need to provide institution under each category? I think we said no. It's up to you, and also depending on the research you do for the region you do. Some of the region can be richer with different organizations from each category, and some no. So it's really about your research and what you find. Can we include public listed companies? Do they belong to the definition institutions with a business case? Francesca is asking Meral.
I mean, yes, anything public, private, for profit, not for profit, yes, any type of institution that do have gender equality and women empowerment products or services or policies or CSR activities, any institution.
Another question is from Michael. Do we get any feedback when we start submitting? So do we know if the information is sufficient? When you submit the information, you will receive a note. Thank you for submitting, and the information is received. We will not be able to respond. Imagine this will be, several, maybe hundreds of submissions from each of you. It will be very hard for us to kind of take daily, but if you submit, this is everything you consider. So this is the quality of your submissions, and we will check it definitely, but we will not respond individually for any submission. While you will submit, you'll receive a thank you note with a kind of confirmation that we received your information, but not comment for each submission separately. This will be just too hard at this point of a competition. Do you want us to put in the business discussion the organization that we find, or will this be after we are selected champions? Meral?
Put in discussion means what?
Just
Like being in the...
probably champions like to give you a confirmation during the discussion what they found and what they put.
Yeah, there are two questions at the end that says why this institution has been important for you, why did you identify it, and there you can put. And there's another question that says, do you know people, inside these institutions? And there also you can put much of their input. Those are our open questions.
Mm-hmm.
So they can insert their ideas. They can say that, I know this institution very closely, so we can approach them after. And I think it's a big input for scoring also.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and there are a lot of other questions regarding with talking directly with the companies and so on. Just I think both Meral and myself, we want to highlight that at this point it's mostly about the research phase. While yes, agree, you guys are suggesting that we can prepare a letter. We already have a letter, and we have a kind of logo for the prospective champions and so on. But we provide you with this information when you are already selected as a champion. At this phase, you are in a rally. The last phase before the selection will be done, we will announce who are the champions on the 10th of December.
Yeah. Also, unless you really know the company personally, they wouldn't like it. I mean, they wouldn't like to, be given information to you, I assume, unless, again, it's a very close company or it is your own company, it's your friend's company. There is no need at the moment. You shouldn't lose your time with that. What we need now is mapping and identifying. The second stage, we will approach them one by one.
Yes, interesting question from one of our user. Could you perhaps post an example of a completed form so be easier for us to follow?
Sure,
Yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah, but also this will be just make sure that, Meral is more than happy to do that, but this will be just an example. It doesn't mean that your amount of information should be, let's say, if Meral posts 10 words, you need to post 10 words, because each company is different. Some of them have a more detailed approach, some and more activities within gender equality and women economic empowerment. So I think this example will be relative. It doesn't show you the ultimate way how you need to complete. The simple answer is that you need to complete all the segments of a form with the best information you think, think from the user end. What will be useful for you to know about this? Completing all these segments, and I think this is one of the best approach you can take this assignment.
Also, maybe Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Meral.
Maybe you should say that. Maybe think about. Let's say you are from X country, X village, or X city. You are from Turkey, from Istanbul. So you are preparing this. I'm just giving this because I am in Istanbul, or I can say you are from France and in Paris. So you are a candidate, a prospective champion, and you should think, when I become a champion, how will I be able to use this information? That's the type of information we need. I mean, if you were a champion, you would like to have received a form where there is as detailed information as possible. And also, of course, I will provide one example so you can see it. However, most of the questions are choice. I mean, you will just choose them. What kind of institution, what kind of sector, the website, the person email. I mean, this is really research. What I'm asking you, more personal, just 1-2 questions that is open, that you have to write a few sentences. And it really depends on you. I mean, nobody can fill it up for you, that part.
Thank you, Meral. Another question is, I mean, there are several other questions connected with you know, the recording, and it wasn't a good time, and if you next time can do in another time, and so on. As usual, you probably saw that we try to send the recording link to our prospective champions or to our users in general when we have any webinar within 48 hours, from 24 to 48 hours. And normally we send with a follow-up email, we share the recording link, the PDF of a presentation, and some key points from the webinar. So please do not, you know, do not maybe share any emails. We promise we will send this. This is our normal habit and our responsibility as well. So you will get as soon as possible the recording and the PDF. A lot of compliments, Meral. This was a very comprehensive, good presentation, and I agree with that. I couldn't agree more. Do we have to approach the institution and get them notified at this phase, or can we only provide information from the research? Just maybe the last time for you to make like a conclusion on these questions, because still a lot of them. And also maybe last question, because we are going out of time. Can we focus on 2 types of training institutions and then just a minute, and entrepreneurs in Brazil, since it's pretty large to map all the states and all types of organization? And also, dear Meral, thank you for a great presentation. Just one more question. If I selected 2 groups and I want to stay in this group, what I should do? Maybe I can respond to this. This is definitely good news for Meral. So please, if you have this case, I mean, again, it's very hard for us since we have several deadlines. The deadlines for registration were on 20th of November midnight. If you registered for different groups and you want to remain in this group or in another group, we understand that it was a hard decision maybe for you, but please send an email with your name, with a group with a name of a group you want to stay, and your email of contact, and we will try to do the notification and to set up these specific requirements from your end. Just make sure to follow all the deadline, because it's very hard otherwise to organize ourselves. And thank you in advance for following. It's much easier for all, for us and for you, if we all follow the rules. So Meral, maybe now I will give you the opportunity to specify once again on the form, on the contacting the companies, and other maybe final thoughts you have before we will close the webinar.
Yeah. Again, so it is more important for me to map one geographical area, whatever size it is. It can be a city, it can be whatever you decide. I'm answering this back for Brazil. I know it's a huge, beautiful country. So you can just take a portion of it and map everything on it. Then there will be another occasion and another person will do the rest of it, or it will be maybe for the, for the next tax for somebody else. But then in our mind, we would have done with this region. So it is much more important that you map one geographical area, and I'm leaving the size to you. It depends on you. It's really you do it. And so this is on that. So secondly, please don't approach to institutions and don't invite them to do anything. It's the second stage, because you even don't know what type of collaboration we want to develop with them. We have to develop this later, so please don't do that. And also for the ones who are selected and who want to continue with two groups, I mean, we are glad and touched by your enthusiasm. I think it's great, no, Diana? It's great that you can think that you can serve for two groups.
Yes, definitely.
But, yeah, but it's too much for you. You don't realize. I mean, it would be too much for you, because we just gave you a big array of what you want to do. If you want to develop projects and work with us on projects on stories and blogs, story writing, so you should stay with one. If you like the advocacy, is one line. If you want to work directly with institutions on private sector involvement and private sector development, you stay with me. And I just think it would be too much for you. I mean, of course you are free. Of course we are happy to have, I mean, we are very happy, but I'm just saying this very, very honestly. And also for the ones who will not be selected, because this time, we received an incredible number of thousands of applicants. But what I'm saying is that, I mean, the struggle on gender equality and women empowerment is a lifelong experience. It's not 6 months. I mean, you may be selected and work with us for 6 months. It will end at the end, but it will last lifetime. I'm saying this with all my honesty. And even you are not selected for any reason, please stay with us, and we give you a platform. It's an already platform with different features, because the important thing is to be on this way. And you can always participate for the next tour, who knows, or we can work together in other ways. And that will be my last words. And thank you very, very much. And let's keep in touch. And again, as I say, my email doesn't work. It will not work for 2 more days. But we can always communicate through my LinkedIn or through this thread that we have on the e-discussion forum.